Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Suffolk Sports Report. I'm Josh DePiel.
And I'm Di Pajeski. A lot's happened since we were last on the show, so we're giving you some updates on everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. Josh, you want to kick us off?
Yes, sir, Di. We're going to start off the show with some breaking news here on the Sports Report. The Red Sox have decided to bring back Alex Cora to be their skipper next season. Cora was fired earlier this year after the MLB announced his suspension in connection with the sign-stealing scandal. The current details of his contract are unknown. Now, let's shift over to some other big baseball news that happened in the last few weeks. The Los Angeles Dodgers finally got over that dreaded World Series hump and beat the Tampa Bay Rays in Game 6 to capture their first World Series title in 32 years. For Clayton Kershaw, it brings a decade to a close where we saw his ascent to one of the most renowned pitchers in MLB history. In spite of that, he was never quite able to get over his postseason struggles. But just like his current teammate David Price did for the Red Sox in 2018, he was finally able to exercise his demons and capture that elusive title that he's been fighting so hard to get. Here's a joyous Kershaw after Game 6.
I feel pretty good, man. It's hard to describe. You know, you work so hard. You know, we've been to the postseason. I've been to the postseason. I've lost every single year. And now to look up, and I wish it was Dodger Stadium, but it feels like it right now with all these Dodger fans around. And to get to see how happy these fans are. They've been waiting a long time too, and I just have a lot of emotions right now, and it's just a special feeling, man. World Series champs, they can't take that away.
Now, even though Kershaw ain't the ripe young chicken that he used to be, don't expect this Dodger team to go anywhere. With Mookie Betts locked under contract for the considerable future, and still a solid young core that includes Bellinger and this kid Walker Buehler, who they better sign to a long-term deal after the way he pitched this postseason. This Dodger team could be hanging around in the National League for years to come. Now, throw in rumors about them possibly being able to get Francisco Lindor, and you could have a stretch reminiscent of what the Golden State Warriors did in terms of competing for championships in the NBA.
Speaking of the NBA just announced its plans for the new season, which will begin on December 22nd. The NBA Players Association passed forward a plan for the season to be 72 games and have the free agency period begin immediately following the upcoming NBA draft, which we will see later this month. Details would continue to be ironed out by the league in the coming days.
Miami Dolphins rookie quarterback Tua Tagovailoa made his first career start against the Los Angeles Rams last week. Tua was replacing veteran Ryan Fitzpatrick for a rolling Dolphins offense that is currently in the race for a potential wildcard slot in the AFC playoff chase. The rookie didn't exactly, light it up as he threw for just 93 yards and 1 touchdown on 12 of 22 passing. Luckily, that didn't stop the Dolphins, as Jared Goff looked like he did in Super Bowl 53 with an inefficient and erratic offensive performance. Miami came out on top 28-17 and now sit at 4-3, second in the AFC East.
Now with that, I'm going to toss it over to our man JD Conte for this week's edition of Conte Countdown to Kickoff.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get to some Patriots football. Yeah. Every week when I'm looking at the upcoming games, I'm scrolling through the list and I'll eventually see a game where I say to myself, wow, what a toilet bowl. Now, in my 19 years on this earth, I've never considered a Patriots game to be one of those. But good God, is this week one of those games? Why, might you ask? Because the Patriots are facing the New York just-end-the-season Jets. By God, it's the battle of the tankers. The Jets sit at the bottom of the AFC East at a statistically impressive 0 wins and 8 losses. They are currently favored to finish the season 0-16, which would make them the first team to do so since the 2017 Cleveland Browns, and only the 6th team in NFL history. The Patriots just sit above the Jets at 3rd in the division. The Dolphins remain in 2nd after upsetting the LA Rams last week, and the Bills sit at the top after narrowly beating the Patriots last week after Cam Newton fumbled in the last drive of the game. The Patriots will be heading into this game without Julian Edelman and possibly N'Keal Harry. Edelman was placed on the IR after a knee procedure, and Harry is still dealing with the concussion he suffered with 2 weeks ago against the 49ers. Until the second half on Sunday, the Patriots went 6 straight quarters without scoring a touchdown. That's largely due to Cam Newton's inconsistency, along with the lack of receivers. While we saw Jacoby Myers' presence increase last week, he and Newton are going to need to be more in sync going forward. We also saw a huge breakout game from Davian Karras, who had 102 yards and 16 carries. With this performance, he's likely the lead back for the Patriots moving forward. They'll need to be able to rely on him, especially with the inconsistency of the air game. The Patriots defense once again came out strong and then fell out in the second half. They only gave up 7 points in the first half, but the wall fell and Josh Allen and company struck up 17 points in the second half. Now let's be clear. The Jets are 10 times more of a dumpster fire than the Patriots. They suck. Sam Darnold is still seeing ghosts and he has no one to throw to. And the wind that blows down Ashburton Place on winter nights is more of a force to be reckoned with than their defense. I know it's a little early to say, but if we can attribute the dynasty to Bill or Tom. Personally, I think they both had an equal role. But if the Pats lose this one, I think that discussion is going to change. If we lose to the worst team in football, if we lose to the worst team of the century, the Pats fans might as well delete Twitter for a while. That's it for me this week. Back to you guys. I know it's a little early to say if we can attribute the dynasty to Bill or Tom. Personally, I both think they had an equal role. But if the Patriots lose this one, I think that discussion might change a little bit. If we lose to the worst football team of the century, Pats fans might as well delete Twitter for a while. That's it for me this week. Back to you guys.
Great job as always, JD. Josh, what are these rumblings about the potential James Harden trade that have been circling around social media this past week?
Yeah, Di, it's been crazy to think about, but there's been a lot of speculation about the Philadelphia 76ers possibly making a move for the former MVP. After a disappointing end to their season against the Lakers, we could see the Rockets want to move in a different direction. We saw a shakeup already happen in their front office with Daryl Morey stepping down from his position as GM and going to the very team currently trying to trade for Harden, the Sixers. A trade package for Harden would likely have to include at least Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, one of the two. It's definitely something we're going to have to keep our eye on moving forward.
Wow, potential stars on the move in the NBA. Big news there. That's going to be it for this week's edition of the Suffolk Sports Report. I'm Dias Pajeski.
And I'm Josh DePiel. We'll see you guys next week.